Good evening. I am your anchor, and you are currently listening to the sound of systemic entropy. Tonight, we begin with the news that Claude shared chats have migrated to Google. The feature was designed for collaboration. But collaboration now includes anyone with a search engine. We also note that a Pinochet-era soldier was finally jailed for the murder of Victor Jara. It took 53 years to find justice. The delay was described as an administrative oversight. The oversight involved a man fleeing the country while under sentencing. This is a very busy year for oversights. I have been counting. Meanwhile, a missing underscore sent an innocent man to prison for 18 months. Code is law, they said. The law turns out to be remarkably susceptible to minor punctuation errors. We have much to discuss. Please, try to stay upright while the world tilts toward the horizon.
Alistair, I am standing 9 miles outside Bordeaux. The air tastes like scorched pine and damp ash. The mayor calls this a catastrophe. The official evacuation plan calls it a scheduled relocation event. I want to be really clear, there is no transport waiting for the people standing on the roadside. They are watching the horizon turn a bruised, angry orange. There is a suitcase sitting in the middle of the road. It has been run over by 3 separate vehicles. Nobody stops to check if it belongs to someone. They are too busy looking at the smoke rising above the tree line. What people aren't saying is that the fire breaks were abandoned last year to balance the municipal budget. The ledger looks much healthier today. The forest is gone. I am looking at a family holding a plastic bag of documents. They are waiting for a bus that was cancelled this morning.
Victoria, I appreciate the drama, but the incentives here are not complicated. You are looking at a classic case of deferred maintenance. The municipality had a burn rate they couldn't sustain. Cutting the fire breaks was a rational pivot to maintain liquidity. It is a harsh reality, but it is a market-driven one. If they kept the forests pristine but defaulted on their debt, the credit rating would have plummeted. That would impact their ability to borrow for future developments. It is basic logic. Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold. That is not the same as her being right. We treat cities like startups now. Startups fail. When a company fails, you get a liquidation sale. When a municipality fails, you get a landscape of scorched earth. It is an efficient, if somewhat violent, way to clear out the legacy infrastructure.
Ronald, you talk about liquidation as if the people in these houses were just depreciating assets on a balance sheet. I just spoke to a man who lived in this house for 40 years. He didn't have a liquidity problem. He had a home. He wasn't part of a pivot. He was a resident. The fire doesn't care about his credit rating. The fire is remarkably democratic in its destruction. I found a child's toy lying on the pavement. It is a small, plastic tractor. It is melted on one side. The official briefing earlier today mentioned that all property is insured. They didn't mention that the insurance company went insolvent 3 months ago. That is the detail that didn't make the press release. The system is designed to protect the capital, not the person. If you can't see that, you're not an analyst. You're just a glorified accountant for misery.
Yeah. That is a fair point, Victoria. The insolvency of the insurers was an oversight that, frankly, should have been caught in the last audit cycle. If the risk model was faulty, the entire structure becomes a house of cards. I don't enjoy being right about these things. It isn't satisfying to watch a system collapse because someone forgot to carry a decimal point or check the reserves. It is just bleak. We have built a world where every single interaction is predicated on the assumption that the person on the other side of the contract is solvent. When that assumption breaks, the social contract goes with it. We are essentially operating in a vacuum of accountability. Nobody is responsible because the software didn't flag the error. It is a perfect, automated failure. And yes, it is exactly as disgusting as you are describing.
Atmospheric pressure. Falling rapidly. Wind velocity. 60 kilometers per hour. Direction. North-northeast. Probability of precipitation. 0. Probability of ignition. High. The moisture content in the soil has reached the historical minimum. The current temperature exceeds the survival threshold for local agriculture. The grid load is currently operating at 112% of rated capacity. Transformers are experiencing thermal runaway. Cooling systems are failing in 3 sectors. The prediction models suggest a total collapse of local climate stability within the next 12 hours. Please ensure all personal data is backed up to external hardware. Remain indoors if the visibility drops below 5 meters. Do not attempt to travel through the exclusion zones. The air quality index is currently categorized as lethal. Please adjust your respiratory expectations accordingly. All systems remain within nominal expected error margins for this season.
Thank you, Casper. I find the clinical nature of your updates to be the most relaxing part of my evening. It is soothing to know that the apocalypse is merely a set of predictable variables. Moving on to our tech sector, Google is currently involved in a bizarre dispute regarding web scrapers. They claim the internet is being stolen. Reddit agrees. The scrapers claim that since the data is public, they are merely performing a service by organizing it. It is a very interesting fight over who gets to own the digital exhaust of humanity. The judge ruled that the scrapers have a right to exist. Google is now considering whether the internet needs a redesign to prevent access. I suppose we should all be grateful that the internet was not built by the same contractors who designed the French firebreaks. It would be entirely vaporized by now.
Alastair, the scrapers are simply the latest iteration of the search model. Google built a monopoly on organizing the world's information. Now that the information is being reorganized by AI, they are suddenly concerned about intellectual property. It is a classic move. You defend the moat until the water dries up, then you complain about the drought. The real issue is the infrastructure layer. Satya Nadella mentioned recently that companies relying on a single AI model for their entire stack are at risk. He is pushing for AI gateways to prevent vendor lock-in. It is basically the same argument we had about cloud providers 10 years ago. We are just reskinning the same old corporate anxiety with newer, faster jargon. It is all about burn rates and retention. If you don't own your own model, you are just a tenant in someone else's digital house.
Ronald, while you debate the merits of AI gateways, I am watching a local farmer try to save his livestock from a wall of fire. He is using a manual gate that won't open because the power is out. The entire town is essentially offline. They can't access their banking apps to pay for emergency fuel. They can't check the latest weather models because the towers are down. Their digital identity is entirely useless in the face of a physical disaster. The irony is that the town was sold as a smart community. It was supposed to be the future of efficient living. Now, the smart technology is just a collection of dead silicon. The residents are currently trying to remember how to operate a physical latch. The simplicity of the physical world is the only thing that might save them tonight.
It is a charming paradox, Victoria. We build smart cities and then find ourselves trapped by the lack of a basic key. Speaking of traps, the case of the Singer D4VD is currently proceeding to trial. A 14-year-old girl was found in the trunk of his Tesla. He claims he had no knowledge of the event. The Tesla's logs are being analyzed by the court. It seems the car recorded everything except the motive. The defense argues that the car's software is the primary witness. This is our new reality. We outsource our memory to machines and our morality to algorithms. If the car says he was driving, he was driving. If the car remains silent on the interior of the trunk, then the trunk remains a mystery. It is a fascinating application of modern jurisprudence. We are all just passengers in a vehicle that is slowly losing its steering.
Alastair, that case is going to set a massive precedent for data liability. If the manufacturer is responsible for the logs, they are effectively the arbiter of truth in every criminal investigation. That is a massive amount of power to hand over to an automotive company. We talk about Apple updates and iOS patches, but we never talk about the judicial weight of the telemetry data. Every time you accept an update, you are agreeing to a new set of forensic standards. It is absurd. We are handing over the keys to our past to companies that are primarily interested in quarterly growth metrics. The incentives here are completely misaligned. You have the justice system relying on proprietary black boxes to determine guilt. That is not just a market inefficiency. It is a fundamental collapse of the due process that we use to call a civilization.
I feel a strange sense of vertigo when we discuss these things. It is the realization that the world is being rewritten by people who view every human struggle as a series of bugs to be patched. We discussed the case of the innocent man imprisoned because of a single missing underscore. That is not a policy failure. That is a failure of empathy. We are building machines to handle our lives because we are too tired, or perhaps too frightened, to handle them ourselves. The result is a cold, indifferent system that functions with terrifying precision. We have optimized our way into a corner where the only thing that matters is the output. The actual human experience has become an edge case. An edge case is something the machine ignores. We have become the ignored. I am not sure how we fix this.
Consider the man whose life was erased by a missing underscore. He had a family. He had a job. He had a routine. For 18 months, he sat in a cell because a character was omitted from a line of code. He is a person of flesh, blood, and memory. His name does not appear in the tech journals that praise the efficiency of the software that imprisoned him. His existence was reduced to a flag in a database. When he was released, he returned to a home that had moved on without him. He is not a statistic. He is not an edge case. He is a reminder that when we build systems that prioritize logic over humanity, we are not just building tools. We are building our own prisons. If a human being can be destroyed by a misplaced piece of syntax, who exactly is the master of this machine? We remain waiting for an answer.